Hey everybody, Mr. D here. Just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about the hidden cost of leadership that no one talks about. We spend so much time talking about leadership skills, strategies, and results, but almost never talk about leadership that costs the person doing the actual work. And the truth is, it costs more than what we actually realize. One example of that in my own life, where I felt the weight of leadership quietly, is where I was given more work than I was ready to have. A lot of times we do an amazing job, or we make sure that we get things done efficiently. And so then guess what happens? We get rewarded with more work, right? And so then it feels like a burden rather than a blessing. Leadership always has a cost emotionally, because you carry other people's burdens and expectations, fears, and needs. Mentally, because the decisions don't stop, the questions and scenarios never switch off. Spiritually, because sometimes we give more than what we receive. An example of that in my own life is going to a planning meeting where I already had a bunch of roles and responsibilities for me to do, but because I had done something else really well, I get more things to carry. I'm not here to complain, but it happens that way, where you do an amazing job on something and you show that you are competent and confident. Those are moments where you're not able to say no or turn those things down, because you're expected to perform or expected to get things done like you always do. These costs aren't obvious. They're quiet, they're cumulative, and they shape the leader in ways that no one talks about. Being needed doesn't always mean that you're being supported. Competence often turns into expectation and pressure. And all the while, you're carrying responsibility that never truly leaves your mind or your heart. There have been times where I've realized that others have relied on me, but no one checked in on me. There are times where I'll pick up the load for things that need to be done, and people will be glad to give that to you, but then often forget to check in on you. So, why do these costs stay hidden? Why do these costs stay hidden? Why do they remain to be unseen? Part of it is culture. Leadership culture assumes that strength means that you're fine. So because you have the power, the ability, the patience to deal with people, problems, and situations, people just assume. It's not practiced. People see results, but they rarely check on the person that's producing them. We see this in sports. We see this in music. We see this in many different industries and business. Your top dog, your person who's just what they call clutch in sports. They produce and they give all these amazing results, and very rarely does a person take the time to be like, hey, what do you need? So being relied on becomes normal. Being isolated becomes invisible. And because we value competence over care and support, the pressure accumulate silently. Leaders rarely talk about this, but they should talk more about this. Not so much to complain, but to show that there's a human side of us, that we're not just machines and that we have limits. We might be amazing at a lot of things and have all these gifts and talents, but we get scared too, and we get tired too. We go through things just like anybody else, except for we might be able to deal with more and deal with it in better ways, right? And when we do talk about these things, sometimes to us it might feel like a weakness or that we're being super vulnerable. But I will say, acknowledging it is the first step to staying whole, keeping yourself humane and humanistic and keeping it real. We spend too much time trying to fake that nothing ever bothers us. And I get that. Sometimes you have to have a poker face so that nobody knows that you even have a weakness. But at some point, we need that inner circle or those that support us that we can go to let them know, like, hey, I do feel these things sometimes, right? You can't just trust anybody. I get it. But admitting that these are areas where we're trying to grow and that we need support and care. Take a moment and reflect. Have you felt this way in your own work, your own purpose, and some of the things that you do? Think long and hard. It's important to really think about how do you feel about these things, right? Because what you think and what you feel is important. Leadership is formative and not just functional. And if you don't know what that means that leadership shapes things. It shapes you and the environment around you. It shapes others around you. So yeah, leadership is formative. It doesn't just serve a reason, a function. It's so much bigger than that. The work shapes you, whether you notice it or not. But it also shapes others too. Those around you that look at you as a leader, your leadership, whether good or bad, actually helps to shape and form them. The cost isn't punishment, it's a signal. When you name it, when you notice it, you gain choice. See, because now you know what it is, where it is, and you're able to resolve it or work through it or address it. You can decide how to carry the weight instead of letting it carry you. Being aware of the hidden cost is not complaining, it's reflection and it's preparation so that when you start to see this happen again, you're able to deal with it and hopefully you'll have some solutions for how to work through how you're feeling. And it's the difference between burning out and growing intentionally. Pause for a moment and think about the last week. Where have you felt the hidden cost of leadership? What have you been carrying silently that deserves recognition? These are real questions that I have to ask myself a lot of times of as a leader at my school or in my community or even at my home. Challenge. Take the time to not only name what wears you down, what costs of leadership have you been dealing with. Name it, notice it, so that you can start working with it and addressing it. The goal isn't to avoid the cost of leadership, because it definitely costs. The goal is to name it, notice it, so it doesn't take more than what it should. Remember, leadership isn't just what you do, It's who you are as a whole person, the whole person. And this affects what you do every day. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon.